All right, without Buddy, I think the duty falls to me to run the meeting, so calling the meeting to order, 5:09 PM, August 5th, 2025, roll call vote. I see Brian Hill, Jason Critchlow, I see Emily, Eric Griffin, Wendy, and Bob Kay, and then Sammy and Chief Downey are here with us as well. So we're moving on to approval of agenda. The addendum that I would ask for approval agenda is today is our annual budget review for the 2026 proposed budget. So as part of a change to the agenda, I would like to do that first right here at the top of the agenda. And then if anybody, after we approve the minutes, and then, and after public comment. So then if anybody who does not want to stick around for that, who's not on the fire territory board, they could leave. So I would like to make that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, amended agenda. Thank you, Mohammed. Amended agenda approved. Approval of the minutes. Everybody have an opportunity to review them. I had no notes. Oh, I signed.
The thing you said you hang up minutes.
Oh, no, I had no comments.
Oh, okay.
Right. No, we can't sign them though. Circulate them for signature. If there are no comments, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
The motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Hill, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Passes. Okay then. Okay, yeah, sure. Minutes are coming around, territory board will need to sign. Thank you, Sammy, for adding that. I did not need to print them myself and bring them here, but you have in front of you then the next, if you haven't gotten it, make sure you have the 2026 proposed budget. So what you will find here is a few changes from the 2025 budget. So we have two funds. We have the fire operations fund, and then we have the equipment replacement fund. And this is the proposed budget that, as a provider unit, Portage Township would be looking to pass as part of its normal budgeting process. So open to any thoughts people have here or questions that you have here. Generally speaking, you're going to find it's very similar to our current budget, with a 4% increase to account for our budget growth that's allowed by the DLGF. That's mainly going to be in frontline firefighters to increase staff. Our proposed salaries are going to remain the same. So no increase in salaries for any positions, but bringing on like lead paramedics and such for the ambulance. Right now, we're doing both, and I'm sure the chief can explain better. We are doing both, staffing the ambulance at the same time. Sometimes that leaves the tanker short. So the goal would be to staff up to have a full 14 staff members or 14 per shift staff at some point in the next budget year. So that's what's reflected here. Also, that frontline firefighter, if you can see at the top, in the top section there, 11031, 11032, that used to be the fire chief and assistant chief and battalion chiefs all used to be on the same line. The battalion chiefs have now been added to the frontline firefighters, and that's to stop the confusion between the chief and I, that every time I refer to frontline firefighters, he thinks I'm talking about battalion chiefs and I'm not. And then the other ad we have in here that doesn't have an account number yet, but is down in the 3000 series at the top of that paragraph. You'll see a line that says workman's comp. We realized as an oversight that we'd like to add a line in there to track that as well, because we had a workman's comp issue this year. So that we realized we needed a place to track those expenses. So the possibility exists that at some point over the next year, we actually break these down even further. Just to help with tracking very specific things as we go along, just to keep oversight of the budget. But as far as approval by the DLGF goes, all they care about is the account series totals, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and then the fund totals. So after this is approved this year, we can break those out as much as we want. And as long as we don't increase the fund, we can easily do that without DLGF approval. So it can be refined as we move along. Then the equipment replacement fund is pretty self-explanatory. It's a revolving fund that also with up to 4% growth. So happy to entertain any thoughts, anything you'd like, considered, any of those things.
So, sometime, crossing about, like EMS billing and stuff like that is the plan for the billing income and that to step up.
Yeah, well, so EMS billing. So we're starting this week, actually. We're moving forward with EMS billing. But it's not budgeted to spend, like we don't have that included to, spend.
We want a little track record to see how much it for sure generates before we factor that into the budget.
Yeah.
We have some guesstimations of what it could be, but until we start seeing the dollars going, that's sort of trouble with the budget.
So the expectation would be for now to just sit on it.
Yeah. As you know, we don't have any cash reserves. Because we just, you start behind, you don't get your first tax check until June. So, anything we can do to build up the cash reserves isn't bad, but it could then be budgeted for the following year. Or at some point, if we see in the budget year that we're collecting $20,000 a month or in EMS billing, and there's something else that needs to be funded with that money, then the territory board can authorize that.
The 44 transports in July, assuming most of those would probably fit
Yeah,
it, eventually be a decent chunk.
yeah, I have no idea what that will generate. I'm curious myself.
If you have the turnaround time, is likely to be on payments.
Great question.
So
I don't.
the payment going out and the payment being received. Being received. That, I don't say absolute, I mean, they're going to get a 3 day after we submit the bill to them. So I think if they have established insurance, they're probably going to, but part of the process we're still doing is there are some other loaded collections and everything else that we had. Probably in September, we'll be able to give you some better data on that.
And that's kind of what I'm wondering, right, like accounting for uninsured people or insurance companies that just don't want to pay anything, like trying to figure out how that factors in.
And the nice thing with going with an actual company, or this is what they do, they work through those issues. They have a relationship already with, I think it's called Lifeline. Lifeline, that's from a collection standpoint. So they already have, relationship there that we can tag into and continue to get over the pipeline.
So, just to take a step back from that, what he's referring to is we've contracted with the service that handles all this billing
Right.
for us. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Making sure.
How's this compare with the 25?
It's the total fund would increase by 4%. Which is the maximum allowable by state.
We have a 25 budget. You put me at 25.
Uh-huh. 100%.
And some of these,
I can email you one.
some of these accounts you can break down already,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the chief and assistant chief, you could break that down now, how many frontline firemen we have. Different classification. You can break that down now.
Yep, we can tell you, right? You want to know what our full head count is? By the end of the year, it'll be 40. By the end of this current budget year, it'll be 41. This budget reflects 41 as well. And that includes the chief and assistant chief and battalion chiefs. So the total staff, fireman staff is 41, and then Sammy's 42. The fire operations manager. But all in frontline firefighters, it's 39.
And for the trustee pay, this is like the fire territory's share, right? It's not additional.
That's right. Yes, no, the Portage Township Board sets salaries. No,
So, yeah.
the budget doesn't technically set salaries. The Portage Township Board sets salaries. And so that couldn't be changed through the budget process anyway. I mean, you could set a salary and then not fund it.
Oh, we're not Congress.
But no, that's not a bonus or anything. Like that.
Right, that, I was just trying to.
Nope.
So that's just
Good
kind
question.
of we bill for the.
It's the territory's share. Yeah, it's the territory's share.
Is there, you running any kind of capital reports and all that we would look at?
I can send you a cash flow report. So what specifically though, like how much cash we have on hand?
Well, cash flow in each line.
Oh, did I emailed that, did I not? I can print that.
First year.
You're missing the budget. I usually present it at the board meeting, but yes. I can get that. I was worried about the 2026 budget that I usually bring that as part of my normal.
You go with a 4% increase from last year.
That's right.
That's what's allowed.
That's the maximum allowable. Yeah, I am, yeah. Mhm. The township will be doing the same across its funds.
You guys are staffing the ambulance every day then, and then, so what is that doing the staffing into? Is it the same every day for the other rigs, or is that just dependent on the day?
So the only, change is tanker, or there could be days where it's not staffed right now, but otherwise, everything's staffed every day. Well, ranges in the medic battalion, so supposedly they say everything, there are some rigs out there that we, plan to staff.
But everything that was
Yeah,
in the initial conversation agreement, everything, it was the 3 engines, tankers and all that, and so.
so rather,
In ambulances, or you get backfilling for the part timers, or is that?
yeah.
Overtime opportunity just for the tanker?
See a line item for overtimes.
Or people. Or the front line.
It gets added to the front. Mhm.
Can you break that out?
We could run an overtime report. That's a Lana question because the overtime gets applied to the individual firefighter. So she could run a report on. I imagine she could run a
Yeah.
report on, yeah, maybe, yeah,
We could produce that information.
okay,
It's just not, we don't have a line item in the budget that tracks.
we don't track it like that, we just track it as part of the total staff salary budget,
So this appropriation is meant to account for estimated.
correct?
How many are you short, Steve?
Short,
Fire,
or we have one more spot I'm looking to fill right now.
is it last month or whatever, 4 or 5 or something?
I don't think so. I don't,
Well, you hired 3.
right. Yeah, so right now on our roster, we have one more spot that we're looking to make an offer to somebody for.
So that, but as far as the staffing goes, is that just one tanker that could be out, or 2, or,
So,
sorry, I'm just trying to.
so we have 3 tankers available to us. We don't staff the tanker here because of the veterans, so we don't staff that at all. So next up would be our tanker that's on Quince Road is staffed. Sometimes with overtime, sometimes with part-time. The goal is to staff it with a full-time person. Well, by the end of the year, that's probably filled. The tanker that's on Fillmore, we do not staff right now. So to staff that, we would have to go increase from, right now, we're at 13 people. A shift is what our goal is, that we have to be 14. If we want to do more than that, I mean, ultimately 15 is the number that we'd like to be at, but we're trying to be mindful of building all the cash reserves and everything else before we put it at 15 people.
So every day, all 3 engines are staffed,
Correct.
one tanker with full or part-time, and then the ambulance.
Correct.
So you told the overtime for part-time people, in with the 8 people.
Yep. It all goes in that same bucket for the budget. But if you want a report, we can give you a report.
How many part-time people do you hire at a time? And part-time, you're talking about units for that or anything, you just,
No, because,
you hire 15 or 20 or?
well, the idea is, so like the fewer, if we were to lose a firefighter today, a full-time firefighter, your overtime costs are gonna go up and your part-time costs are gonna go up. Then if you hire that, when you replace that firefighter, then those costs would go down. So I'd be open to suggestions, but that's why we don't track it that way, broken out. I don't know how I predict it.
Yeah, we regularly recruit part-time firefighters, so I think right now on our roster, we have 7, if I'm not mistaken, part-time firefighters that can work for us. As we find others who want to, if they meet the requirements, then we add them to our list, because the more part-time people we have in the mix, the more we can use them for anything. You know, that's, when you go through the summer, as we're going through right now, where a lot more people take time off in the summertime. There's a certain minimum you have to staff, that may have to be filled with overtime or a combination of part-time. So there is no absolute to say it's this being that, it's this being this. So we try to use our part-time staff to keep our overtime costs under control or at a
Vacation,
amount that it's just,
better vacation.
there's no avenues to say that that's what we take off.
So the open spots aren't offered to like the full timers.
No, they are.
And then if they can't, if nobody wants to work it, then it moves on to part time.
Correct.
Tammy, I'm sorry to do this to you. Do you have the June from the July territory meeting, the June budget analysis? Would you mind printing copies of that off? I'm like killing myself. I was so focused on this 2026 budget that I just totally forgot. This will at least give you a mid-year point. Thank you.
So for maybe you're saying in budgets, you know, how you break it out, like overtime, part-time people and so on. You know, instead of lumping it in all one big one like that, it's so big, too big, I think.
I mean, the main
You might
way,
be able to budget for that.
the main way to control costs is limiting over time, so that does. You need to figure out how to make that vary. I mean, it's really more fatigue, but it's good for us to see too.
So we would take some of the money out of frontline and put it in overtime.
But yeah, I mean, you should be able to figure it out. Come close, right? I mean, you're always gonna appropriate money at the end of the year, so one way or another. You know, we'll probably have to do it more.
I mean, it's obviously it's really hard to
Predict.
plan though. I mean, it's kind of looking at it. Yeah, you know how many people have how many big.
I would, yeah, I mean, I can put a line in here, but I would probably just be dreaming up a number. I would probably like put 25,000. I would take that out of frontline and then put it there.
I think about the dealer's budget, you know, all the overtime that he has, he budgets for that. You know, he's constantly moving money around for overtime, or part-time people or whatever. He's got a line item for that.
But he has to move it out, then he has to move money into it.
Yeah. Do it in line transfer or out of line transfer or whatever. But, you know, be disciplined to come to the county council like this. And send it back and say, break that down.
I can break it down. I just, yeah, I mean, so I guess that's what I'm throwing out is I can create a line that says PT/overtime and remove money from the front line and put it in there.
That's how you would do that. You would separate honestly, I kind of agree, part-time should be separated out too, because that gives the board a clearer picture of what the staffing situation is. So how much is coming out of those, if, you know, that's a reasonable thing.
I can do that. Thank you. Appreciate it. This is what I was, is it not the one through
It's
June
provided.
30th? Is it not the one through June 30th though?
I will double check.
With the battalion,
It was from the July meeting. Battalion chiefs are on here, yes.
being with the front line people.
What I usually bring every month, no, but yes, the battalion chiefs are on there.
So they were moved there since last month.
Yeah, no. In the current year budget, battalion chiefs are with that front, it's,
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
This is next year's budget.
That's next year.
Yeah. In this, I've got in the current year's budget, in fire dash admin is the chief, the assistant chief and the battalion chiefs. For the 2026 budget, I've moved the battalion chiefs in with frontline firefighters because they count as as a member of the shift.
And the battalion chiefs get overtime. You only have three. If one gone, then the other one covers, then how it works.
Not necessarily.
No. Based on what you said, it should be now, the 26 budget you should have read. You just indicated, you know, fire chief, assistant chief, battalion chief, you know, what their salary is and so on.
Do you think the battalion chiefs should be back up under the rest of the chiefs?
Yes. What, and for 25, that way, then you just do them all and
We're trying to improve our tracking, so it makes more sense to, on this budget, how they function and work. You have it in that, in the frontline at least.
No, because the chief and assistant chief don't get overtime. The battalion chiefs do, so they would be tracked with all the other firemen who do.
They work the same shifts, they will fire, so that's how we put.
So if I create that separate line item that you want, they would be under that line. Any overtime would then fall into that line item, the overtime line item.
I would assume that you're an assistant chief for like FLSA exempt and then the battalion chief service. Well, like you guys as your 8 hours or FLSA exempt, you and the assistant chief. So it makes sense to probably be together and the battalion chiefs are they?
They're not.
FLSA? They're not exempt. It's good for them.
Yeah.
They should have said we
We're all in our union.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this would make sense for us to be all together.
Yeah, we took everyone that works the same work rules, put them together so that when it's easier to track them, and you can not have two different buckets that are tracked two different ways. For the current year's budget, the way it was described, it took everybody who said, can chief in their title, put it in one category. That's not,
Because I didn't know what I was doing.
that we,
No, I mean, that's it. Like I joke that he and I have been speaking different languages when it comes to that.
So, like you,
we're trying to break it out, and I think when you begin to zero in on overtime, you know, a lot of times you look and say, okay, what's that overtime coming from? Is the next thing you begin to break special event or upstaffing or an event or weather, is it for paid planning time off, is it for other things? There's a lot of things that go in that overtime. We really, for how we track our paid time off that we get, it's really, that's the money that we're gonna have at the start of the year. This is overtime primarily is how we're gonna get, how we're gonna get off this year, vacation. It's still, it's going to be covered with overtime because we don't have extra staff on the shift. So whenever anybody's off, they have to be covered. So so even when you think about breaking it out and zero and overtime, it's like, it's not like a number, they can say, hey, if it's, you know, $500,000, you know, look at how much overtime you can get, it might be $600,000 a year. You're going to spend it overtime because you're covering playing time off. It's nothing new.
That indicate a need to have more part-time people able to cover some of that.
Well, they gotta be qualified part-time people, but yes, if we have more part-time people, or if we increased our full-time staff. Yeah, so as Jason mentioned earlier, our goal was to get it anywhere 14 or 15 people on staff. So if our minimum number that we need to operate is 13, if we have 15 on staff a day, okay, you can start to use your overtime. So they have those two factors all going in. So if you have that increased staff, you can give the guy off and not necessarily cover him while they're with an overtime position.
I mean, there's no problem or anything to there, so I mean, me personally, I'd rather see you build a spot for the overtime of your full-time guys than result for the part-time.
Yeah, and they would do, at the better situation, but there's become a little bit of a burnout factor. If all the PTO is still the overtime, and guys are working a lot of extra hours. So that's where the part-time kind of helps with that number too.
Yeah, you have the ability to cover it without mandating people to stay, so. You know, cover it with part-timers.
Yeah.
The city of South Bend just going through that now. You were short. Months ago, if chief, you can't go back to the council for how much money for overtime. Because you paid you guys double time, you were, how many people short?
Yeah.
15 to 20?
I mean, when they do the budget, it's,
Yeah, but you couldn't go in,
It's okay if you can.
when you go in, you got a cap and you got 15.
I can email it.
So much of it.
It's here.
So
I'll
many,
email it.
so many tests, you got so many sergeants or whatever, how it's structured. They cap. So they end up with $60,000 a year. You go in there with a plant like this. It just vague to me, it was just too vague. I mean, that's what people like to. It gets vague to me, don't tell me, this really doesn't tell me anything.
I know the drugs, I know the way they do the budget is based off of. It's fully staffed. And then like the plant amount, like you said, you know how much PTO you're gonna have every year. So assuming you're fully staffed, sure, you could make an estimate of. To cover all of those PTO hours. But it's not gonna be accurate because you're gonna have late calls, especially having ambo, you're gonna have people held over. You're gonna have.
And some good people think that state comp instead of overtime and whatever the case is, there is other factors that go in, but I don't disagree. Say, hey, this is what you projected at, an overtime expense, and it's not hard to figure out. And then if it's, how do you reduce that? Yes, or more staff to begin with, or more, part-time, because the minimum number you need, that doesn't change, that's the constant.
So you get their choice to either comp time or overtime.
For when somebody's working,
Give their choice. Is there a limit to the comp time or?
yeah, there's state statutes that we follow.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Just quickly scanning minutes, from the last meeting. Is the new radio equipment factored into this budget? I noticed that radios will no longer be in compliance in 2026 with current technology.
Oh, that was a particular, excuse me, go back and explain that.
That's okay.
No.
I think
It's
the answer
a
is
good
no.
question, but no. That's it's one, so,
Depends how you look at it.
yeah,
If I could chime in there.
Please, it's fine.
Shows $230,000 as a budget, so that's where that money could come to fund those.
From where?
the second
page.
then it's a separate fund.
Equipment replacement fund, which was
Oh.
capital stuff could come from now. There are some other creative ways that we can finance that
Okay.
to get more than radio, or some other things that we'd like to, our plan to present and purchase as well. But that's where that money would come from, just to fund those. So to answer your question, yes, it's, I guess, sort of there. We don't, and I say that because our territory board hasn't said, yes, go buy these radios, and that's it. So it's not a new purchase yet, so we're not in there until that purchase is approved. But from presenting the budget, the most that we can put it there, 230,000, we have to have it at our territory meetings. How is it going to, you have to pay that 230, or what is it going to fund? So it's budgeted in there, 230,000.
You just have to choose what you're gonna
We
buy.
gotta figure out and agree what we're
Oh,
gonna buy.
sure. Yeah.
What was the cost for the radio? So if you have something else you want to buy, Steve.
Radio, SCBA's, and some furniture.
So this budget cannot go up anymore. Like this is,
Once you.
well, no, I mean, even this proposed budget. So even if today we were like, well, let's add $100,000 for this or that, we cannot.
Can't do it.
This is the maximum that the state will allow us to have. So it's just so the decision after in 2026 will be, what do you do with that equipment replacement fund money? Is this the year to buy the radios, or is that a year do we do something else with it?
But it seems like a mandated, unfunded mandate. That like, it's out of compliance as of 2026. I'm familiar.
You, as a township, you cannot run out of assistance money. You also cannot stop providing assistance. So have fun figuring that one.
But
You can't run out of money.
I know, I want to know what in Jason.
Well, that's where, and then this is my struggle constantly in the, like in art, because we have such a high volume. I can't run out of money, but I can't say, I can't turn people away.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, so what I'm hearing is,
Yeah, the cash flow of, from January to now. You think you're gonna have any money left over?
no,
You're gonna spend just about everything,
I think so.
yeah.
So the startup costs were expensive. Outfitting each firefighter with turnout gear alone was 10 grand each. Now we did get some, I shouldn't say that, I'm sorry. We will have some cash reserves but we will spend everything that was budgeted for sure. The cash reserves will be from when we broke up with Center Township, they sold some equipment and they had to pay us for some of the equipment that they kept.
Did they?
And they've done that, yep. So that money went into the equipment replacement fund for our territory. Warren Township also cut a check for whatever they had left in both funds. And they had a pretty sizable amount in their equipment replacement fund, which also went in. And then for operations, whatever, I have to go back and look at the number, what, Center Township had left in their operating fund was also divvied up and went in here. So we will have some cash reserves, but Portage Township will have to go get another tax warrant loan as we have to make sure we have the cash flow. We won't have $4 million sitting in the account come
I
January.
was thinking if you had any money left over, we could do some purchases on what the chief wants.
That's absolutely something we could consider as an additional appropriation. But what will happen is, and what I would ask that we wait for is after the DLGF approves the budget, I will get a worksheet. It's called a Form 3B or something. It will say how much money we started with, how much money we're expected to receive, how much money we budgeted to spend, and then it will give me a projected what will be left in December of 2026. That's our true cash reserve. So if that number is $500,000, then we might say, well, hey, we've got an extra $500,000 that we could go and appropriate. So I'll know that after this budget, after we go through the whole budget process.
What's, Dalton telling you that we may have at the end of the year and then,
He hasn't even looked yet. We haven't ran that analysis yet.
he hasn't.
Mhm. At the end of this year or next year?
No.
No, we haven't looked at that. The cash flow, not for these two funds, we haven't actually. Because we're not concerned, so we didn't run those numbers. Good question though. But what I'm hearing for the budget is what the territory board would like to see is
No, I'm like,
well, it's easy to do. I mean, it's just,
No, I agree, we should have,
I would basically take the 3.2 million and I'd subtract 100 grand from it. And that 100 grand will go in a different bullet. So nothing in here will change as far as totals. So I can do that for the tracking for the 2026 budget, no problem.
what do we pay for group insurance? For employee?
Actually, much lower than the county. I just calculated that recently. We're estimated $11,000. This represents $11,000 per employee,
That's cheap for the county.
or $10,000 per employee. Yeah, you're at 8, the county's at 18.
It was more than that, I thought. Now it's they lower.
Lana just said 18, but you know, she has been out of the game there a while, so we're self-insured now. So it's, we're budgeting total across for the territory and the township, we're expecting $550,000 in expenses. Now, that will be money out the door, so we have to budget $550,000. We also will collect we'll collect our employees' portions of the premiums. We will collect rebates on prescriptions and all that other kind of good stuff. So it'll be a net, we won't spend. We will take in some money, so it'll be, we're gonna budget 550 though. That's what we're budgeting. So divided by our full number of FTEs across the township and territory, we get to that 10,000 per employee. And we have a consultant that helps us with that.
And but it's $10 per employee, but our actual net.
But we won't spend 10,000 per employee. It'll be less.
Yeah.
For instance, if our employees use the cost containment measures that are available to them, which our company that we work with, will say, if you're gonna get a knee surgery and they see it comes across that you're getting a knee surgery at St. Joe Hospital, the company might call you and say, hey, that's gonna be $100,000, but it'd be $40,000 if you did it over at Memorial. Would you be willing to move to Memorial? You could say no, and then that's fine, no skin off your back.
You pay the difference.
Yes, to a point. There's a maximum. It's called a stop loss. And I've really become educated in all this year. So to a point, yes, we pay the difference. But if enough people are using those, because if enough people use those cost containment strategies, we could come out ahead at the end of the year. And so one thing I actually told the chief is, it's possible that in December, we may be able to give a bonus to employees by not charging them their premium out of their check. Because many of them have been using these cost containment strategies. So that's like a little mini goal we have that would be nice to be able to do. But yeah, I've been, become well versed in the self-insurance game.
Is that enough money for repairs and maintenance?
That's what you put in that category for repairs and maintenance. There's a separate vehicle maintenance and then separate building maintenance on that. So if you look at just repair and maintenance supplies, there's some.
Yeah, I know, you probably built up for whatever.
Station 41, the township's been using capital money, bond money, so we've been maintaining it that way.
The other section that I think might be good to have spelled out a little better is utilities. Just to, what's going to do with ones.
How do those bills come?
So are you, when you say a breakdown, are you looking at
Each station?
by facility or by gas versus electric?
And I was thinking gas versus electric, but there's also, I think this be said for each facility. But I think gas versus electric versus, comms equipment.
Yes, but one of the things that Jason alluded to earlier that Lon and I are actually working on is there's several of these GL codes that we would like to expand out and tracking even like building maintenance by each one of our fire stations so that it's easier to see that the building maintenance for this station or that station seems to be disproportionate to the others. So I think there is some, I don't know what tracking.
41 right there.
Not one right.
Actually, believe it or not, I don't know. I mean, 41's an old tough bird.
That's what it is.
Well, it's got-
But I think there's some value to that. I don't know necessarily in terms of gas versus electric because you're kind of bound by what the utility rates are going to be. However, if you see that one station you're paying $1,000 a month and the next station you're paying $3,000 a month, it draws your attention. So okay, you gotta figure out what's going on there. So Lon and I have agreed between now and kind of like the end of the year to begin to float out some of these categories for some of that. So to your answer, yes, we started like the utility bill we get for phones right now, rather than it being one bill for phones. In that bill we have how much is charged to Portage Township, how much is charged each one of the individual stations. So that way we can see when we code that bill into the GL, this is how much is going to each entity. So we are
goal.
we are still
Short-term goal.
we are doing that and identifying areas where it makes sense to say, hey, what are we trying to do with this number? And there's a few other, like whether it could be EMS supplies and things of that nature, trying to track those out to making sure we have that. So we are, and I would suspect as we get into next year, we get to see some of those expanding out. Yeah.
And then I was just gonna mention, because we also have a facilities tech that comes out now and supports all the facilities, including the fire stations. Comes out here, fixes things.
So they don't become a catastrophe.
Yeah. Thus far, it's been small stuff.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Emily, you want to go with that money?
I feel like a guest because I'm not really on the board. I'm representing Warren.
You're not a guest. This is your meeting.
Well, ish. I mean, I wasn't, Yeah, okay. What would be really helpful for me is to see revenue and expenses on one sheet, just to see where the money is coming from, so that I have, as a representative of Warren, a very clear understanding of what we are appropriating.
So I kind of came in the same as you, and it's hard to operate like that in the government sector because we don't have consistent monthly revenue. We get two checks. We get a big check in June and we get a big check in December.
But this is an annual budget,
That's right.
so we could see the annual projections of revenue,
This is the revenue. So
but I'm looking for a breakdown.
what do you
You
want?
mean from Warren, Portage?
Oh, which township is doing which? That would be,
Well, also, we have two different sources, right? I don't remember the name. But we get it from two different, we have property tax and.
we have lit, but this is primarily funded with property levy. Where's the form? I mean, I could give you the percentage. Warren kicks in the same percentage across the board, and we could go look that up where it is. It's based on the total assessed value. So you take the assessed value of Portage and Warren, however much Warren's is, that's what they're kicking in. But if you want a rough number, it's 75%. 75% of this budget is funded by Warren Township. And one of the goals of the township, as we've talked about, or the territory, is expanding. So if we were to get Olive or other townships to join, that percentage by Warren and by Portage would all change. They would decrease. It would get spread out over other entities. So it's a matter of geography on the map over there.
But I suppose the only other thing when I think about that. So the business side, we have your sales revenue and areas taxes, which I guess we would consider taxes and revenue. And I suppose at the end of the year, to where you mentioned earlier, we would see that if our total property taxes is going to be $6 billion coming in, we're budgeting to spend 5.5 of that, then you know that you're increasing your cash reserves at the end of that year. That's kind of what you're I think thinking, just to be able to see that from the.
That is not where I was going. I really, because I'm learning all of this, it's hard to not see the math,
Yeah,
to understand the different streams.
right.
And so when I'm hearing we're giving 75%, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I understand there's probably a lot of background, but coming into this conversation, I feel kind of unprepared.
No, it's not that. You don't have a choice. It's the total, how much are you bringing to the table as a entity? You bring a certain amount of assessed value. Portage Township is only bringing that sliver right there on the right. Not all of Portage Township is in this territory. That sliver is. So
If you ever want to, Emily, we could sit down, I'd be happy to dive into it.
Yeah, that's fine.
the total value of all the properties here in Warren Township, feed that budget. The values of these properties are Warren Township, Portage Township, I'm sorry, feed the budget. The rest does not. These residents don't pay taxes for this. Only these residents pay taxes.
Theirs goes to the city of South Bend's fire.
So if we were to get another township to come in, our percentage would go down because.
Yeah, it'd be shared. That part I understand.
But as far as like, we had, when we were going through all of this, had to look extensive presentations and stuff of like all the stuff financially. And
Yeah.
whatnot, and that might kind of explain
Okay,
what you're looking at as far as like the lit money that comes in. I'm not.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can send that over to you, and that might help.
yeah, it would.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
That's helpful. I don't have any other
I
questions.
was the same way.
But otherwise,
I'm used to seeing revenue on budgets. too.
if you ever want to, I'd be more happy to give you a lot of more detailed information.
Well, we're really hoping that you're gonna sit through several of these boring presentations come January, February, and March of next year if we're successful in our efforts to expand the territory, because you would be a part of, all of those meetings. You'd be required to join all those meetings with the rest of us.
You need a motion on this, you know, what do you need, or do you, or is it just a presentation?
It's just a presentation, but I think motions are nice. I mean, I've got my to-dos on what needs to be broken out of here for 2026. If you think of other things, then that can be done at any time.
Motion, you know, we got time yet.
Yeah, I don't see any reason.
Yeah, we got time, so we can maybe give some of the details of what we asked. We got time. I know you're supposed to present this to the board by, August.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
It's
our first budget hearing is in September. I mean, so
from 1 to 5. Here, say it's whatever.
we don't need a motion. We don't want to, like, if you don't want to vote on it, you don't have to vote on it. But you guys, no vote?
I'm kind
What
of
was the-
confused, because it's titled a territory board meeting, and I am not on a territory board meeting.
So as part of the agreement, annually, each board, the full board of each township comes and the provider unit presents the proposed budget because it's,
And then we have a vote?
you don't. So
Right,
because
okay, that's where I was like, I don't think.
it's like a nice to have. Because the territory, the fire, it's this welcome to government. It's so stupid. Fire territories only exist on paper. They don't exist. You can't go look up the St. Joe County Fire Territories budget by looking that up on the DLTA website. You'd have to look up the Portage Township budget because it's part of the Portage Township budget.
Sure. Sure. Understand that.
And then
I
come
was mostly
January.
concerned about my role, and I want to make sure that I stay in role.
Yeah, no, you're perfectly fine. And then come January, we do another full board meeting, which is what is that one?
The organization one where you.
Okay, yeah, that's all it is then. Okay, yeah. So there's 2 full board meetings.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, well then you can stay, you and Eric can stay, or you can go, totally up to you guys. Moving on, anything else here?
I'm gonna stay, and I'll be right back.
All right, I will also email the July budget so that you can see the year to date. All right, chief, we are, no, on new business, ambulance service.
You know, I have done into other stuff, but it's going good. I mean, we're still making progress. We're doing our runs. The big hurdle on that still is to get our DGA license, and, we're still in that queue. Everyone tells me it takes a year, and we're 6 months into the queue, so, we continue to frequently email their help desk and call them for updates and making sure they have everything they need, so we just continue to keep the pressure on getting that approved.
Good news. Territory expansion, I can talk a little bit about this. So the time is nigh. We have engaged with a financial consultant to go ahead and pull the trigger on moving forward with offering Olive and New Carlisle at least the opportunity to join the territory, perhaps some other entities nearby. Open to thoughts on all this. Green, German, all share borders with us as well. The idea is we wanted to get solid numbers to be able to sit down with their elected officials to say, with this tax rate, this is how it would affect your property owners. If they're like most of us, their property owners will be unaffected because most of them already are their property tax caps. But the idea is to get that in hand before we sit down with them and say, are you interested in doing this or not? The subtext of that is Senate Bill 1 had a stipulation in that said all new fire territories were maxed out at a 0.40 tax rate. Now that killed the formation of multiple territories all across Indiana. There was 8 entities with Madison Township. I can't imagine how much time and effort they had put into that. And most of these territories I found, they're at like $1.10, $1.25, even nowhere near where we are, which is interesting to me.
When you say that, what do you mean, $1.10?
Their tax
Out
rate,
of,
their tax rate. I mean, our tax rate here at this territory was 0.75, but Portage Townships was 0.04. So, I mean, it's a healthy tax rate in a lot of those entities. And ours is small by comparison, but all the other fire territories around here is very small as well. So anyway, the 0.40 that was what was required by Senate Bill 1. And so when we were talking about expanding, we said, forget it, because we ran budget numbers, and with a 40 cents tax rate, we can do not do anything. So there's no point in expanding. Now, the latest guidance we get is until they do a fix, according to the DLGF, an expanded territory could expand at their current tax rate, which is interesting. And it makes us an interesting player here locally because we have a very attractive tax rate to a lot of these entities who are now out of money. So we're picking it back up again in seriousness to see if they're interested. We know the problems that we've talked about many times in our township. So I think by next month, we would like to have those sit down conversations, because as a reminder, if we were going to do this, we have January, February, March of next year. It has to be done by the end of March, and a lot of things have to happen. So if those entities were serious about joining us, they would need to make that known this fall.
Where do you have to have 2 or 3 meetings, public meetings?
It's 3 minimum, yeah, three.
Three information meetings and then a voting meeting.
Yeah.
The voting meeting could be on the same as the last information meeting. Yeah.
But you have to have all elected officials, you have a quorum of elected officials from all the participating entities, so. And so we have to start moving forward on this. And that's the plan.
Is there any interest, do you think?
Yeah.
We do think so. Yep, we think so. But talk is talk, you need to say, yeah, sounds great. See you later. So the idea is we need something more than that, because it costs a lot of money to do the legal work and the financial work and put the territory together. So if folks weren't serious, then there's no point.
Who's running those numbers?
Franklin Peters is the name of the firm. They put together the current territory.
Point of order, Mr. Trustee.
Say again, Mohammed?
So is Portage Township done here? Is this fire territory?
Yeah, you can jump off. Go have a drink.
Do you know that's on the plan?
Have fun, buddy. We'll see ya. He's on vacation.
Bro, I'll see you next week.
Okay. So open thoughts there as we're moving forward. Feel free to send them over to us, but that's the plan. 2026 purchasing. What is that?
I think what we had on there was that we presented last month, when we wanted to buy the SCBA's and radios, just that's still a need out there. So,
But we have options to explore.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, the goal would be to take, our recommendation would be that we finance it as a purchase rather than taking all of our money and spend it on just one item. Because both items are needed. And we do have a Republic Bank, but that's what they do with other fire departments and municipalities for that matter, where they basically, you could consider almost like a line of credit, but they'll give us, could be $500,000 to buy these things, and then our first payment is due for a full year. So I think it's just an attractive. I don't have the numbers in front of me today, but windows for September.
Yeah. Well, I think we should table that.
Yeah.
Everybody go with that? Get numbers for September.
Yeah, I agree. Stay along.
Hiring. Just a hiring update, this must be.
We're still in that track of hiring. We have one spot right now that we're trying to fill. I think we have the person we're gonna hire. There'll be another paramedic that comes over to us, so we really put a focus on hiring paramedics rather than EMTs. Not that they aren't needed, but as we continue to want to staff our ambulance, the more paramedics that we have on staff, the easier that makes sense, so. But we've had good progress there. We have 10 applicants right now for that one spot, so it's decent ratio, I guess.
Cool. No old business, provider unit report, I've done everything that I was gonna do, I don't have anything additional to add there. Run report you have in your packets here. Thank you for putting this together, chief, because I do like looking at this.
So you can't be for July,
Eric was already quoting this.
we had 122 runs, which is a good number for us. The important thing, I guess, that I want to focus on now are our transports. So of the transports that were needed, we did 44 transports. There was 20 patients and 20 calls that did not need transports of the EMS call. That we did the 77 calls that the med team went on. There was 12 times when a different unit had to do the transport, and that usually means our rig was not back from the hospital. I guess that's the thing we track that more, that as that number keeps up, it supports the need for a second ambulance. If we start seeing that we're doing more and more runs where we're not able to be there all the time for them. What that magic number is, I don't know right now. I'll tell you whether that's when it hits 20. Does that mean we gotta go get another one? Is it where it's already at 10 or it's at 5? Last month it was at 3. So this one's at 12. So I don't know yet what that hard number is gonna be, but that's something we can talk about at our board meetings. It's how many runs are we okay with not having it transferred of our own in-house medic units.
Did we, does the ground have one or two?
One. Well, they have 2 units, but they have 1 staff. So they have a second unit that wants to bear, or so that, and depending on a lot of things that happen that day, that unit at that time will respond to a call, but it's always, I don't want to say afterthought in a bad way, but just kind of like, hey, we can respond now with this unit. It's no different than we do with our tankers. We don't have somebody staffing the tanker, but if a call comes in for a tanker and me or Andy are at one of our stations, we get it to the tanker, we take it to the call. So it's, yeah, so they do the same thing with our second ambulance. I think that's something that next year we would probably want to look to do the same thing as have that second ambulance here. And there may be certain times when all the booms are aligned correctly. Yeah, we're able to respond on that call and to ourselves.
You and I, will we have that conversation with somebody here?
It was at that meeting downtown,
Okay,
when we were,
all right,
the expansion came up and
okay.
you and I both said 1 and
I thought,
Augustino corrected us.
Yeah, they have 2 physical units, but they staff one service. Well, right now, we just have 1, which we're not yet, but at some point we want that second one just because of breakdowns or whatever the case would be, if you did have a second unit, so.
Station 41 was busy. That's unusual. Busiest.
Where's,
And Station 41, Fillmore Road,
It's the
tends to be our busier station.
Oh, it does?
It does, actually does.
It's the bypass.
just by Western.
Fillmore, Mayflower, it's in Mayflower. You can see also on the second page of your run report, our run types, number of fire, EMS, the food attack calls, our response times for our scoring here today, the route time, well, the right amount of time, I think are very respectful, good numbers that we have. Looking for the number of cardiac arrests that anyone seems to normally walk in and see the facility. I told you that, so. Do we have a water rescue? Put our hope to work.
Yay.
On the right numbers? If not, second page, then the next one there shows our training for the month. We did 660 hours of training last month. Year to date now, over 4,000 hours of training. Some of the topics that we highlighted, we did every other year. We have NISCO come in and do a gas pipeline emergency training course. Pretty good training, pretty informative. We just try to do it as a refresher about every other year, just to keep it in everybody's minds. you hear a lot of firefighter fatalities at times, there's a mishandling, the simple CO, gas, and all that you get on, so
You do that with AEP also?
we do with AP, yeah.
What's TIC?
Thermal imaging camera. So, yeah, right, TIC, it's the thermal imaging camera, so it allows you to see through the smoke and that, so we just
Gotcha.
recently acquired some new ones to upgrade our old ones that we had. So, we made everyone do some intense training on them to make sure they understand how they function.
Came across an interesting thing when we were over at the other township, which was a program focused more on police, but training them how to interact with vehicles that might have someone that's autistic or that kind of issue. I'm just wondering if that's something that is worth exploring for firefighters, like dealing with the different kind of mental health issues that they could encounter on a scene.
There are 3 state new this year, we just can't remember why. There are 3 state psychiatric mental health trainings that you're required to complete for all of the certification. And all of our guys are working on those, so, whether it's for sure autistic, there are 3 different ones, so yeah, I think that mental health aspect of it, learning how to deal with different things is an ongoing training effort, so, but yeah, there's something that, if you have a program that somebody puts on, I'm always in favor of outside people coming and teaching, because when you have the same people teaching over and over and over, just kind of, okay, here's why, once again. Well, if we had somebody come in, like in the NIPSCO case, where we have NIPSCO actually brings in their trainers, and they come in and do the training, guys are a little more attentive because it's somebody different than they see every day, and knows their stuff, so if you ever have to know somebody that here's a really good, training of how to interact with autistic people or, crisis intervention, more than happy to.
And their focus over there was for officers during traffic stops, right? Like recognizing communication issues that could lead to violence or panic attacks, et cetera. So I don't know, that might be something Jason to connect on and see if they do anything along those ways.
Yeah, it's a big program that he spearheads up.
Yeah, they seem very proud of it, so.
I have a similar question about the crisis response. Is there a collaborative relationship with Oak Lawn? And I'm just thinking like first on the scene, kind of trauma-informed care.
Pretty much, there's a new protocol 41 that took place in dispatch that is supposed to curtail or not curtail, but looking for a different response for people in a crisis intervention. The number of calls, don't quote me on the statistic, but proportionally, I'd say if there's 85 of those in the city of South Bend, there's 5 in the county. So all the focus is right now has been on the county, on the city of implementing policies and that there. So they haven't brought that up to the county yet. But the city, yeah, they are doing that. I see it someday coming more to the county, but it's just not yet. They have to keep, but
Because Oak Lawn serves the full county,
agreed.
but they just are focusing on where the majority of calls are taking place.
I don't know if everybody by Oak Lawn. I know from the PSAT, the dispatch center meetings that I attend, and the procedures and protocols that they're tracking and monitoring their number of occurrences that they have, and they now have changed what they call it. It's a protocol 41 response that they're going to put in place. All the numbers of the number of times that dispatch has gone out. It's like I said, 100 of times in the city of South Bend and in the rest of the county. So it's just, that doesn't have the same focus on everything.
Makes sense. Okay.
The other point on the report to Station 41, so we know we had 3 or 4 times when we missed calls there because the location server didn't fire and go off. After a lot of interaction and debating, we've identified the problem. So we're in the process of fixing it. There's going to be a new Comcast circuit that's going to be put in there. And hopefully that will address the problem, as well as putting in a current radio. The radio they were using as a failover radio is obsolete as of about 8 years ago. So we're going to update that a little bit.
What about,
I like that.
what about the location server? Is that a server that's in that one room there?
Yeah,
Is that any good or?
there could be some pieces of parts maybe in there, but it's not really.
It's no use to it?
No. Otherwise, nothing unique to put out there of maintenance. I guess I could say is tomorrow, I get to drive, fire truck to Columbus, Ohio. Because we've been having for 2 weeks, they can't figure out why it had an 1 3/4 lean to the right hand side. And finally, they agreed to meet you with one of their engineers in Columbus, Ohio, and figure out what's going on with it, so we'll be going there, hopefully getting it fixed tomorrow, but we'll see what happens, so. Facility, we're still on track for our new roof replacement for Station 18. Right now, on August 18th, so we're still expecting that to happen on this 18th, so.
Can be done by the end of August?
They told me 3 months.
Damn.
So it won't, it's nothing out of one day and probably not in 1 week. It's because it's all the metal that's exterior. So whether it's downspouts, trim, the roof, it's a lot. So,
You said on 18?
the one on construction, correct.
Third one,
It's gonna be noisy.
this is the third one.
Second roof, but third material, the second material, got donated. So, yeah.
Okay,
The union's happy.
yeah, they must be, because they're not here.
Hey, we'll see what.
This one's broken. FYI.
Good job.
Did the bill meet. Okay, any other discussion item?
You guys still plan on renting that other part of that building or not? Because I got a couple of people asking.
Renting the other part of the building.
Baby or whatever, you guys still gonna rent that, or at least that, or you?
Is there nothing in it?
There'll be some storage put in there.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you want to give me the documents.
About renting that or leasing that, trying to.
Yeah, yeah.
About doing that because I got a couple of people asking me, you know, since the fire department's out. You know,
Yeah,
they're gonna do it.
it's here to use.
Yeah, give me, whatever paperwork.
Yeah, we need to keep going on that.
Yes.
We'll be drawn or have something drawn up already.
Yeah, no problem. We're ready. Easy. Okay, any other items? All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
You're adjourned.